Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Give this video a like.
Podcast below in the description. Go subscribe to that as well.
We're presented by Tito's Handmade Vodka.
The #1 vodka in America.
Savor responsibly. We made a video. There's not a lot of debate. This happens with quarterbacks. You show a little something, and we just assume the next step. And it seems like everybody is just assuming the next step, pushing Justin Herbert to the top of the league. He's just about ready to break into Sando's top 5. It feels like if he can, it will take another level for him. I'll tell you what, if he just repeats what he did last year, I think that's going to be wildly impressive because he did it without fans by and large. He did it, caught everybody by surprise. Is he going to do it again is one of the big questions in the NFL this year.
Well, we have some holes, right? And I think it really came to light in the speeches when Peyton talked, because you think Peyton, you think his brother Eli, obviously Eli just retired. Phillip Rivers just retired last season. Like these guys were staples in the NFL. Roethlisberger's hanging on by a thread. He was in that draft class. He's going to be out soon. And I think we assume whenever a young quarterback has a big season that they're just going to be the next stalwart 9 to 10 time Pro Bowler and just be consistently playing Sunday nights and Monday nights and help carry the league. We have Patrick Mahomes, but I just think there are some big question marks, right? I mean, a lot of people just want, can Lamar maintain it? Josh Allen, can he maintain it? Herbert was so unreal, and so many people are so high on him that it's like his expectations. We talked on Sunday night for Monday's pod about how the expectations for the Niners are like borderline outrageous. I just think if you run into a random fan, they would say minimum, like the lowest number you'd get, probably 11. And even that, probably 12, 13. That's kind of what the fan base is thinking, win-wise. Honestly, it's kind of how they're talked about. You just turn on NFL Network, you turn on these channels, like everyone thinks they're going to be really good. Don't you think the same kind of goes for Herbert? Like just the conversation, the way we all feel about him. You and I are daily fantasy players, not year-long fantasy players, but like he's going to be a popular pick, and rightfully so. His expectation, like he's just going to have to match it. It's a little different than Josh Allen, because Josh Allen, probably even more pressure. Herbert's just going into a second year. They just gave him $150 million. Anything less than like another 12, 13 win season is going to be a huge letdown. I do think anything less than like a Pro Bowl type year for Herbert, though, that's just kind of where he's held. And I think when you look at a big picture from the NFL, they do kind of need him, right? Burrow, you will see some of the reports. He's like skittish on his leg, rightfully so. I'm not even blaming him. So in fairness to him, you might not even be able to judge him this year. He's coming off a major knee injury.
My guess would be he'll be back to himself, but it might take a couple of weeks on Burrow. That's my guess on Burrow. I bet he looks good.
What if it was like 8 weeks?
Yeah, it could be. I just thinking about Garoppolo when he was coming back. I bet it takes a couple of. Yeah, you're right. It could be 8 weeks, but he's another guy. Didn't play in front of crowds really last year.
Yeah, it just might be some. It might just take some time with him. I'm giving him, like, we saw enough, like he was on his path, but he had a major knee injury, and their team stinks. And Tua, who the fuck knows? Like they do need Herbert, and Fields and Lance just might not be on the field. They're trying to build around this young crew. Who knows what's going on with Deshaun Watson? Like they are that old crew of guys help carry the league. I know we talk about Magic and Bird, but those other guys were like Clyde and Hakeem and just doing some big time shit, right? When you look at Roethlisberger, when you look at Eli, those guys have a combined 4 rings, and Rivers just played in crazy games for a decade plus and just entertained
the same
us.
game every day.
Yeah, so
week.
The league is as strong as its quarterback. Now, I had a guy, who's the kid that is that left early to go to Ohio State? Is his last name start with an E? The guy that left South
from
South Lake
Carroll.
Okay.
With the mullet. I forget his name.
Someone forwarded me something about him, and then another video of this 14-year-old. Maybe he's 15, and he's like the #1 quarterback.
Quinn
that's a freshman
Ewers.
right now.
Quinn Ewers.
Yeah. Okay, that was the guy. He was like, he had some promotional thing on social media yesterday. But someone forwarded me this thing
kombucha.
in the NFL. Yeah, kombucha. It was rap sheet, like what a world. And it was like a 15-year-old kid who's at the Elite 11 or something like that, and he's just throwing these dimes. And basically the scout was like, God, that's pretty. Look at this kid. And I do think we feel that a lot with quarterbacks now. Like all these guys are so much more advanced than back in the 90s, right? Just with the quarterback camps and probably arm strength and the lifting and the
They're
right
just throwing
food.
a lot more.
But it is the one thing we still know.
Let's take a moment to tell you people that this is brought to you in part by DraftKings promo code HAM.
Download the app. Use the promo code HAM when you do.
And by our friends at decked.com/ham. Woo, look at that.
Decked.com/ham. Go get it if you got a truck. Rivers could never throw like that. Eli couldn't move like that. Those fuckers could play the position. Like, we just, can these guys consistently play the position? Like, I remember my second year in Philly, Michael Vick almost wins the MVP. They're like, okay, we're going to start throwing some different things at you. And it was a little more difficult. And he was Michael Vick. Like, I know Herbert and even Allen, they're just going to start seeing, it's just going to get harder. Now, and maybe, who knows? Maybe it's just easier to play because I can't hit you as much. But there got to be elements to throw different coverages, to throw you off, that it's not just going to be easy peasy 24/7, 365.
I think one of the best ways to illustrate this point is something you said to me before we started, which was there was a point in time where Jared Goff and Carson Wentz both got paid, and everyone went, okay, we could debate, should they get that much money? But there was not a lot of like, well, is Jared Goff going to be the quarterback of the future for the Rams? It was like, yeah, Jared Goff's the quarterback of the future for the Rams. What are we talking about here? Maybe McVay didn't feel that way on the inside. There wasn't a lot of, with Wentz, it was the same. There was a point in his career where it was obvious that he was going to be the quarterback of the Eagles for the next 8 years. And then it stopped being obvious. Now, those guys are not Herbert, right? I think Herbert is way more physically talented than Goff, and
more normal than
a
Wentz.
more consistent person. Yeah, just a different person than Carson Wentz.
Because he does have some. Him and Carson are both freaks, right? Carson was a freak
physically. Yeah.
Body just lets him down. Has Herbert ever been hurt?
He has. He broke his collarbone in college. Yeah, he's been hurt. I think a couple of times in college.
Gotcha.
But he's a lot bigger than he was then too. And maybe he's a lot, I don't remember. I think he got sacked, fell on, and then maybe that thing got re-aggravated later. But
it happened to Aaron Rodgers, right? Romo.
Yeah, similar.
So that's got to be a painful injury.
But he's a big guy, right? And part of it, now Wentz was big too. And he does run a little, but I think they've done a good job around him, right? It helps him that he's got Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, and they draft Rashawn Slater in the first round. They actually added Jared Cook. I forgot about that. Just looking at their depth chart here. Austin Eckler. So, their defense is really talented. Do they have a great defense and a coach that knows how to, close out halves and games? Because if so, they're going to naturally win more games. I guess
they should be in the
they
should be in the playoff mix, right? They should be right there. They have the talent. But again, we're projecting this player. Here's the one thing I will give Josh Allen. Even it was he has made the playoffs 2 years in a row, right? Even remember 2 years ago they lost that crazy wild card game to Deshaun Watson when they were up like 17-0, and Watson and Hopkins just went nuts. But he's done it a couple years, right? They've been winning games. When you take that step from being the sexy, super talented guy to okay, you're 5-3, and it's tie game in the fourth quarter. There's a big difference between being 6-3 and 5-4, and just it's just. I just think we're gonna look at them a little bit different. It's just gonna be intense,
Yeah,
it's
winning is gonna be a bigger. Last year, wins and losses were pinned on his coach.
And wouldn't you say by about week 7 or 8, it was just about and I'm not saying he wasn't trying to win, but it really wasn't about wins and losses with the team. Somehow they still won 7. It feels like they won 3.
Part of it was they started 1-4, and then they were 2-7.
Yeah.
Right. So
actually finished pretty good, huh?
Yeah, to finish 7-9, because remember that was one of the deals. Anthony Lynn's won 4 in a row down the stretch. It's what are they gonna do?
He had his higher level version of a Tom Sula year. I think if you just go, what do you think of Anthony Lynn's season? What do you think of Tom Sula's season? Tom Sula, you'd be like, he won 1 game. What do you think of Anthony Lynn? Oh, yeah, they went 4-12. Their record was actually better than the way they were talked about.
Anthony Lynn did have a 12-4 year 3 years ago.
Well, he went. I remember on Thursday night they beat the Chiefs, and Rivers threw this touchdown in the back of the end zone. Remember that play? And Thursday night, late night, they got a reprieve. I remember being a big win. They made the playoffs. They beat Lamar in the first round.
That's right.
I think
they lose to.
He won a playoff game. Anthony Lynn is it looked really bad, so he got rightfully a lot of shit. It wasn't probably as bad as I think the way we talk about it, while I do understand why people probably in the building are like, it took on a life of its own.
Well, it was the way they looked when they played the games in critical moments. But when
Yeah.
you watch
Which is
Hard
important,
Knocks,
which is
Anthony
important.
Lynn was not. It was not Tom Sula. Like Tom Sula was not in charge of that operation. Anthony Lynn was. It felt like, again, from the outside. But
Whether maybe he's not destined to be a long-time head coach, I do think people inside football think he's a high-level football guy.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
He is the offensive coordinator for the Lions.
Is he really?
That's who. Yeah.
How about that?